We are good to go. Let me get this sorted out. Oh, there we go. Oh, I was just thinking about something. Right, we're finally going. It's finally pressed go. I think we are live. Hello. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Hopefully, you're all doing well. I've got to keep the theme up. This will be out throughout the whole of December. I'll be wearing this hat. A lot of you seem to enjoy it when I wore it on that video. Today's going to be quite a short stream because, I kind of want my tea, and because I'm an awkward bugger and I decided to stream at 7 o'clock, was about the time when tea was ready. Oops. Don't expect me to be too long, but I'll just have to warm it up after the stream. But yeah, hopefully everyone's doing well. We're going to run through the latest as you'd expect me to do. I've actually got one thing I forgot to pull up, but I'll get on with that as we go through. The stream. Obviously, I could put this on the flashy light mode. I could put it on like that, but I think it might cause some people epilepsy if all that. So we'll just leave it on like that. But yeah, hopefully everyone's doing well. We'll have a run through the chat. I've got the cup of tea next to me, and also we've got a big giveaway going on for Christmas, a Crimbo giveaway. So if you join the Discord server, which I'm just going to put that on there, and the screen might disappear for a minute, but I am just going to pull up the link to the server where you can see the giveaway. So I'll quickly put up a picture on screen. So here you go. There's the Discord link. If you want to join that and enter yourself into the giveaway, it's the pinned comment thing. So yeah, we'll get straight on with things. Yeah, enough waffle. Let's get on with the latest. I'm just gonna pull up there we go, and bop bop bop. Easy. See, told you it'd be quick. Right. Let's go. So yeah, the giveaway in the Discord. If you are interested, and I'll put up a picture because I've got one here as well. Open link. Here you go. This is what you get. You get a Send It mug inspired by a certain someone with the quotes on the side. You get a light up LED pen. And yeah, just like a really good little collection for you. The giveaway is obviously on Discord and on YouTube, but yeah, join the Discord, put your little snow emoji, I'll ping in the chat after the stream to let you all know. But yeah, let's get straight on with things because I know a lot of you won't be too bothered about that. Hello, loving your hat. Cheers, Foxfire players, and cheers for your coffee. Buy me a coffee. I never knew anyone used that on buymeacoffee.com, whatever it's called. You bought me a coffee. I do a cup of tea, but cheers for that. I didn't even know that people use that. I'll have a quick run through the chat and we'll get straight on. Hello to Thomas Christensen, Aaron, Laura, Earthheart, our favourite jukebox, James098 moderating. We've also got Andrew and Danny V moderating the chat as well, on standby in case there's any losers in the chat. We've got Laura Johnson as well, Fisk, Barb Mac, or MC Barb Cat, Anne Smith, Rachel, your yellow loving friend has arrived, Adam Blunson, hello to you, Marco as well, lots of names in here as well, Random Furry. Again, not expected too big a stream because the weather is quite quiet at the moment, but yeah, we'll get straight on. Hello to Metsuit, so glad you could join us today, and Crift Beast as well, Tomp. Yeah, plenty of names in here. Right, let's look at the latest GFS. Now, people with weak hearts be warned if you want cold weather, because this is basically the opposite and is a big disaster. There is also going to be some storm, which we'll have a look at in a moment, which could actually be named by the UK Met, but it is subject to discussion around the early parts of next week. So, at the moment, we've got a west-southwesterly airflow. We've got higher pressure position to our south. If you've got the higher pressure basically over to the south of the UK, then it's good riddance. Well, I'll say good riddance. It's goodbye to any cold potential. Lower pressure systems through the Atlantic. We've actually got some weak blocking towards Greenland. So you can see the cold air going into parts of Iceland, possibly. but the UK is on the very mild side. So through the next week of December, got areas of low pressure pushing up from the southwest, a very mild southwesterly flow, and it's generally quite unsettled. Going beyond that into the third week of December, we've got low pressure systems again continuing to push through. You can see the position of the jet stream is just, and this is his black line, it's a sort of like an average of where it is, an estimate really. You can see it's down to the south of the UK, but low pressure systems are being carried along the jet stream towards the UK, sort of slightly northwest southeast alignment, but very unsettled, very stormy, and that just continues until the very end of the run. We're getting very close to Christmas with these runs, and that is not encouraging. I think the Grinch might have sorted that one out for us, because that is the complete opposite of what you want. We've got a southwesterly airflow. Now, that's just one model run. Let's compare it to the GM, but yeah, pretty much unsettled the whole way through, particularly in the north and the west of the UK, and there could be some named storms in there. Moving on to the GM, the worst model out of the bunch, we've got low pressure systems again moving in from off the Atlantic. There on Tuesday, you can see that Atlantic low pressure system out to the west of the UK. That could bring some disruption potentially in the west, with those strong winds and heavy rainfall totals, with a weather front moving through the country through Tuesday. Again, though, higher pressures over to the southeast, lower pressures up to the northwest. Winds in from a southwesterly direction. However, the GM does what the GM does and gets it wrong, because this is not happening, but tries to send it to Scandi, send the high pressure up towards Scandinavia, and tries to turn things cold. You can see higher pressure returning up to the northwest, the northeast of the UK, and colder air is beginning to slip into Eastern Europe from Western Russia. But the UK kind of misses everything. I mean, it's not happening. I'm just saying it's not happening. Eventually, though, the Atlantic does look like it's about to win out, or higher pressure might ridge to the northeast and turn us quite dry and quite mild. Must say, this run is really not well supported within any of the operational or ensemble suites, which is all the runs together. It's not supported at all and is very unlikely to happen. We've also got the ecmwf run as well. To show you, Jacob Elements, hello to you, this top 10 strongest polar vortex. It's ridiculous, really. We had a refraction event, that's what it's called, which is where the polar vortex actually rebounded very quickly, which is why we saw not too many effects so far from the polar vortex displacement / minor sudden stratospheric warming event. Although we could see effects in a week, I really do doubt it, because the PV recovered so quickly, and it wasn't exactly a major, strong stratospheric warming event. Anyway, moving on to the ecmwf, very much of muchness really. Higher pressure over to the south and the east, lower pressure out to the west. Driest as always in the south and the east. Further north and west you go, pretty wet and stormy, to be honest. At the end of the run, we've got lower pressure up towards Iceland, and higher pressure is positioning or beginning to build further northeastwards, trying to build to our northeast, maybe becoming a Siberian high, which is where it extends from the south. So that is a pretty mild pattern. 16th of December, southwesterly flow dominating. You can see a bit of a cold plunge into the very east of Europe and parts of Russia, but the UK looking pretty mild. Temperature deviation 1 to 3 degrees above average. Looking at the ensembles, this is for Barnsley. You can see that we are above average, maybe returning closer to average in the 10 days and beyond time frame, so around the 14th, 15th of December onwards, potentially returning back towards average. But overall, it's a pretty mild chart. You can see the odd, and I mean the odd cold run is in there, but generally we're pretty mild. Precipitation spikes. There's a brief dry spell between the 10th and the 12th. That's with a brief high pressure ridge. But after that, again, looking pretty unsettled and quite showery throughout much of the period. This is central England. Further south, probably slightly dry if we go to Tiptree. Don't ask me why that's loaded up. You can see generally the precipitation spikes are less, indicating probably more showery conditions rather than longer spells of rain. So there you go. Marco, what's so warm? I know it is. I think the models will change to a colder outlook after Tuesday's rainstorm. I really can't see it, to be honest, Shy. I'd love to say that I wish it would, but I just can't see it, really. December 2019, colder and snowier than this year so far. It's crazy, isn't it? Hello, everyone. Big freezers seem long gone these days. Glad I saw some good ones in my past. I've never really seen one, to be honest, you know. I guess 2020, 2021 was the closest, but even that wasn't great, was it? Hello to Best Crazy Boy. Nice of you to join the stream today. Yeah. there's really not too much going on besides this, which is what I'm going to move on to now. So we're going to run through the latest UKV and we'll have a look at some of the other runs as well. Good luck to you, Bald Girl, and hopefully you're doing all right. Obviously, the greens and blues are rainfall. So if we go through then into tomorrow, because tonight's pretty dry, or rain's clearing away and dissipating. Can see though rainfall beginning to push in from the southwest through Sunday morning, and by midday on Sunday, you can see there's a weather front moving in from the southwest, and that's bringing plenty of heavy rainfall. So looking at midday on Sunday, you can see parts of Wales, parts of the southwest, maybe extending it into the Midlands, Northern Ireland, and the far western fringes of the UK, seeing some quite heavy rainfall. That pushes through quite quickly. Further south, was a couple of hours it's cleared through. Through Scotland, though, it looks very, very heavy. Quite intense rainfall band here. Could be some quite big totals. Would not rule out 40 to 50 millimetres in some places in a very short space of time for parts of central northern Scotland, maybe the central belt as well. Can see that's as good as it gets for snow lovers. There's a brief snow spot over the Cairngorm Mountains or Ben Nevis. Not too much going on there. Can see brief little features moving through on Monday. It looks quite stormy, that to be honest. There's a little bit of caper. I wouldn't even rule out a little rumble of thunder in the west potentially, as there's this like little band moves through. Monday though, day of can I speak today? The day of sunshine and showers. But then into Tuesday, we've got some really wet weather pushing in from off the Atlantic. You can see heavy rain moving into central Britain, into the Midlands, and parts of the southwest, the southern parts of the Republic of Ireland, seeing some quite heavy rainfall totals. That clears through very quickly. There's an interesting gap in the system as well, which I really don't see happening, but you can see plenty of heavy rainfall for northern England, central southern belt of Scotland, and extending into southeast England as well. A very soggy Tuesday morning. That does clear through again quite quickly with this UKV. Little bit of deviation from some of the other runs. We'll have a look at the wind gusts in a minute as well. But generally, it is pretty Atlantic driven. Brief respites from the unsettled spells, but overall it's pretty wet. Wow, look at that at the end of the run. But looking on Sunday, you can see a few isolated wind gusts of 40 to 50 miles an hour with that front moving through. As it clears into North Sea, develops into more of a system. But again, calmer day through Monday, but by Tuesday you can see that system moving through, that low pressure system gliding kind of to the northwest of the UK like this, bringing with it its rainfall to the west of the UK. But you can see the Northern Ireland, for example, parts of central England, central northern England, and the far north of Scotland. Seeing some quite big gusts. You can see 70 to 80 miles an hour in isolated spots. Really gets going actually through Tuesday night with this UKV run. See just grazing the northwest, so like the Isles, Isles of Skye and Mull and Arran, for example, and your far northwest of Scotland. Seeing gusts of upwards of 60 to 70 miles an hour. Wouldn't even rule out 80 to 90 on your exposed locations on the Isles, for example. Looks quite strong there. Can see it clears through northeastwards, but even like James's Shed in the Highlands, might see some quite strong gusts through the early hours of Wednesday. Does look quite nasty as it clears. You can see 100 miles an hour grazing inland, the far north of Scotland. But yeah, generally quite a windy day for many. And again, you can see another little low diving through the country on Thursday. You can see very end of the run, again some stronger wind gusts being shown here potentially. So yeah, one to watch really. Is the theme of this one. Hello to Mark. How are you doing, bro? I'm not doing too bad. How are you? Been around since 1963. Just missed the best, but some good ones in my past. Oh, Quift, I'm same as you, but I need my tea, but I'll have it after the stream. It's not a problem. My fault. It's my fault. Don't worry about it. Snowy, I wish I lived up north. When snow 2 week UK cold, really nothing too much going on in terms of that, to be honest. Aaron, I wish I could say, oh yes, snow's on the way, but I really can't. It's pretty dismal. If it's snow you're after, to be honest. Someone asked me if I wanted to do the Christmas forecast. Not really, because I'm just going to say it now. It's going to be a mild Christmas. I don't even have to look at the chart. So mate, all good, needs some snow. I'm sure we all do, Mark. That cold spell we had was pretty poo, wasn't it? Really, it wasn't anything too special. Of course, a few that don't like the cold and snow, and I can completely understand that. You know, heating bills, energy bills, and all that sort of stuff. But to the people that enjoy it, then it's fair game, isn't it? And it's you know, some people like the colder weather, some people like the milder. To be honest, in between's probably the best because it's you don't see the unsettled conditions which can bring flooding and damages, and you don't see the cold and potentially snow which can bring disruption. So there you go. Yeah, really boring weather. Yeah, there's no way to gloss this up, I'm afraid. It's pretty bad. But we will have a look at the CFS for fun at the end as well. Shy saying he doesn't see the SSW. I mean the thing recovering, the polar vortex recovering with a really weak start, and I think the start or end of Jan. Potentially, it's one to watch. I mean, a lot of people are writing off this winter, but I'm not going to just yet. It's still, what is it? 6th of December. We can't really ruin it out. Rule it out, sorry. Unless you lived in with me, James. Yeah, Whitby got some quite big snow, didn't they? That day. I'll have a quick look at the other reliable model run, which is the Icon run. See what that is showing in terms of wind gusts. Now, we know where the rainfall is going to be. In terms of wind gusts, though, we can see in Tuesday. This is pretty accurate, by the way. This usually does pretty well for the wind gusts. So these are just wind gusts miles an hour. You can see, again, that area, the northwest of Scotland. Less inland, but more out in the Atlantic. You can see 60 to 70 miles an hour just inland there, off the far northwest of Scotland. But generally, most of the heaviest, the majority of the heaviest wind gusts are out at sea, just kind of gloss past the UK. But maybe an isolated 60 to 70 miles an hour further inland. But yeah, generally, it does look pretty rough in the west. I mean, for all areas, it will be quite windy through Tuesday. As you can see, 30 to 40 miles an hour is possible anywhere. But generally, yeah, the west and the northwest is to be affected the most by this. So yeah, I wanted to take a quick look at the Arctic sea ice extent because it's been dragged up a few times. It's also been dragged up in my coursework. For my assignments from university. This is the next topic as well, so it ties in quite well. But yeah, this is the Arctic sea ice extent. So this blue line is this year, 2025-26, and it's not great. So 2012 to 2013 is notorious for being one of the lowest years. Now, it's not the lowest, and I cannot remember for the life of me the year that was the lowest, but it's the second lowest recorded sea ice at its minimum. Now, you can see this is 25-26, and we are below 2012-2013, so not great. Arctic sea ice, so that's like the Arctic and the North Pole, where we see all the ice developing like Greenland and further northwards. But you can see the average or the interquartile range is here, and the median is like this. So between let's go on where we are now. If we look here. We are between around 13 and 11 million square kilometres of ice of sea ice coverage, but at the moment we're about 10, so we are slightly below that. But again, we've got to think about this. If you look at what range we're using 81 to 2010. That's an old database. Why aren't we using 91 to 2020? Is it to skew the data more to make it look worse? I'm not too sure, but yeah, generally, it is below, it's not great. It is below what we'd like to see at this time of year. The sea ice extent is reducing quite commonly year on year. It's not a great sign, but I just think that the data's been skewed a bit more than it needs to be. Why not use a modern day average like 91 to 2020? Why do we have to use old averages? Because the climate changes, and I'm not going into that, but the climate does naturally change. It goes through cycles, and this is one of them. There you go. I'm not debating fossil fuels or all like that, but no. Generally, the climate does change naturally. There is natural climate change. It variates throughout the years, the centuries. It does change. This is the Arctic. Hello to Steffi Adcock as well. Nice to see you in the chat. This is the snow and ice chart, the Arctic. The snow extent. So this is from the 5th of December. I'm just going to move this out of the way. So we've got quite good coverage, and we've got to turn the head because it is sideways. But we've got good coverage over Russia. Pretty much the whole of Russia is covered, besides the far eastern portion. It is a bit hard to see on this, but the far western portion. You can see parts of the Nordic region, Sweden, Norway, and Scandinavia are generally covered. And you can see America has that massive plunge, which I will look at in a moment. You can see it's had that massive plunge of that colder air sinking southwards through all parts, and it's brought some quite decent dumping of snow. It even brought some through November, and that's stuck in some places. I know that Chicago is expected to reach minus 30 degrees next week, which is absolutely crazy. It has happened before. I'm not saying it's anything remarkable, but it has happened before. But yeah, it is pretty mad, really. He's not worth it. He's not worth it, Best and Andrew. I agree. Not worth fussing over at all. We don't care about him anyway. He's just a low life. Anyway, let's move on then. And let me see. Oh, that's that. If you want, join the Discord if you've just joined the stream. We're giving away and just react to the comments. There you go. Moving on to the AO and the NEO. I'll quickly explain this. This is the Arctic and North Atlantic oscillation. Basically, all you need to know is that if they are both in a negative phase, negative AO and negative NEO, it can encourage blocking patterns and encourage colder weather. But it also depends on America as well, as we're seeing at the moment. So, looking at the Arctic oscillation, the AO, at the moment we are positioned in a negative phase. We're kind of oscillating above and below for the next above and below zero, so positive and negative over until around the 15th of December before we're recovering towards positive AO. Positive AO and a positive NEO encourage a westerly regime, so Atlantic-driven weather patterns. The NEO as well, you can see, is in a negative phase at the moment, but by around the 15th of December is expected to rise to a weekly a weekly positive phase, but obviously it's not, it's nothing too definitive. Weekly positive probably indicates low pressure system sat over Greenland. Now, as many of you will know, and if you haven't, just have a look, you can see, it's very weak actually, but you can see the reason for a negative NEO is that it's quite weak, but we do have higher pressure positioned up to the northwest, up towards Greenland, which is allowing those colder weather systems through America. For the UK, though, it's allowing low pressure systems to slide underneath it because the jet stream is very powerful because of the cold plunge through America. It's a very complicated pattern, and it's unlucky for the UK, to be honest. It could have been a different story. Now, this is why the UK is so mild and wet and windy at the moment, and I'll briefly explain why. So I'm not an expert on my states, but I'll explain it generally, because a lot of people just like to hear the general reasons as to why different things happen. So if you look, we've got higher pressure out to the west of America and like the Pacific, and lower pressure systems are to the east. Winds are in from a northerly direction. You can see that eastern parts of America are seeing quite a cold and potent plunge southwards of this cold Arctic air, and that's only going to be shown properly later on. So you can see that with that, low pressure systems are being carried to the east into the jet stream, fueling up all those systems and causing us to see all the unsettled weather. You can just see, though, the general theme is that higher pressure remains out to the west of America, and we just see repeated northerly plunges. So like this one here is a pretty extreme one. You can see the high pressure. Well, we'd call it retrogressives, but I'm not sure what they call it over there. But I'll just say it for the UK people around there. Higher pressure retrogressives to the west of into the Pacific, and lower pressure is sliding eastwards and sliding down the spine of America and bringing down that cold northerly airflow. You can see really, really cold air surging southwards by the 13th of December, as predicted by the GFS 12Z. Really cold air. And all that does, look at that, those temperature anomalies are 12 plus degrees below average for many parts. It's quite rare to see that sort of plunge of colder air masses. You can just see that higher pressure just maintains out to the west, and that just continues to bring in colder plunges at times. Now, eventually, higher pressure just builds through the majority of the country, but that emphasised by this, which would turn things probably drier for the UK in general. It would mean less low pressure systems taking that track over the North Atlantic towards the UK. You can see the cold air more being confined towards Alaska and the far north, so like Canada and Alaska. But that is a long way off, and obviously there's a lot of variation in the model output. Now, I did say just for fun, so yeah, it looks quite bad for the next couple of weeks, I must say, for the UK. Now, I did say I'd have a look at the longer range prospects with the CFS. Not too late for very cold weather. December 1985 started very mild, but the winter ended with Feb 96, 1886, and 1986 being so cold that toilets were, oh my word. Yeah, to be honest, Jacob, 2013-2014 would be a pretty good comparison for the UK to start off, but I'm not going to name drop because year on year, years, you know, they don't have crossovers, if you know what I mean. No year is the same as another year. So yeah, I've lived through extreme cold. Yeah, let's have a look at the CFS then, see what it is showing. So obviously we know what the pattern's going to be for the next week or two. Low pressure systems moving in from off the Atlantic. You can see higher pressure trying to rise towards Siberia towards the Christmas period, but lower pressure is really winning the battle in this scenario. Lower pressure systems just continuing to track across the UK. Do get a brief cold snap there. Oh, actually quite decent cold snap into the end of December. Here you go. Higher pressure briefly. This is like one of those like 3-day cold snaps though. Higher pressure ridging into the Atlantic. You can see lower pressure ready to topple that though. Does bring in a brief north-northeasterly airflow. Not that much cold air to the north, but we do tap into some of that before higher pressure begins to establish towards Scandinavia. And does try to bring in some cold air, but we see more of a southeasterly airflow. We've got low pressure systems messing around with that, so we don't see any of the cold air really. It kind of gets shifted to the north. Look at Scandinavia, complete flip of patterns, quite cold, but the UK is actually average, besides maybe Scotland seeing the odd wintry shower, but overall, it's a bit unfortunate, that pattern, and would just be typical. That's probably what's going to happen. No. High pressure tries to build to our east and northeast. Looks quite dry and quite mild again. And then going through January, low pressure systems just continuing to move in. Can see higher pressure again having a go at getting towards Scandinavia. Does eventually send it to Scandi, and we do bring in more of an easterly airflow. Mostly dry with that. Eastern Europe turns quite cold. UK seeing the periphery of any cold air. Doesn't really see too much going on. Again, that breaks down. We get a brief ridge, and Atlantic systems pushing back through. Into February, the middle of Feb, higher pressure over to the east, bringing up a mild southerly airflow. It's turning mild for all. Brief cold snaps at times, but generally we're very, very dry and mild, really. And quite unsettled with low pressure systems sliding through the UK. And yeah, it's pretty uneventful, that one, isn't it? Snow, and more snow, yeah. So in Kent this winter, I mean, we can't really say anything. I mean, December doesn't look great, but the end of December also could be quite interesting. And I think it's one people are writing off too quickly. Keep an eye out for the end of December. Maybe up to Christmas, maybe slightly after Christmas. Could be interesting for any cold potential. When we do have like a little bit of a gap. Where we could see blocking patterns develop very briefly, but again, the stars have to align on everything. I think Scandi High will win, it's just position. Yeah, exactly, Jacob. if it's positioned in more, it's the orientation. So if it's positioned slightly further southwards, we actually could bring in a southeasterly wind, and it could be milder and quite dry. If it's further northwards, up towards Norway and Sweden, and we bring in a proper easterly, again, that could be cold, but it depends on the cold pooling to our east, which isn't great at the moment. So yeah, I want snow. Yeah, I'm sure you do. Everyone does, I'm pretty sure. Well, not everyone, but most people do. So that's something, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, please remember to hit the like button if you are enjoying the stream. I do appreciate it. We are actually very close, on the road to 3,000 subscribers. We're getting loads in the last few days. And I do appreciate all of your continued support. If you are enjoying the content, make sure to drop a like. Bit unique to all your other channels, but there you go. That's just what I do. I'm not your generic, not your typical forecaster that likes to do things the traditional way. I like to mix things up and try and make it a bit more fun, because when it's like this and it's pretty, average conditions, slightly milder than average and unsettled stormy weather pushing through, there's not really too much you can say. It's just kind of Atlantic weather system moving through, brief respite. Oh wait, the next one's pushing through. It's just kind of like that. It's kind of like a conveyor belt of systems moving through, and it's really hard to get out the pattern. But looking at the longer term prospects and trends is always fun, even if they don't always come off. So yeah, that's that. Is it the Scandi snow that don't stick together? Yeah. It is, I expect. Actually, the Scandi air masses are usually quite dry, so it's usually quite a dry air mass. So if you did see any snow, it would probably be powdery sort of snow. That's the drier air masses from the gust. So yeah, but anyway, any air mass is pretty dry. So if you get Atlantic weather systems moving into the cold areas when it's pretty, slushy sort of snow, usually sleet around here and stuff, and usually very marginal as well. I did expect SW to have more effect, but I suppose it doesn't always come off like newspapers say they will. No, it never does it? Feels like spring. I would say it still feels pretty cold. There's still a chill in the air. Even today, there is a bit of a chill in the air. But yeah, thank you all very much for tuning in today's stream. Again, it was a little bit shorter, but to be fair, there's not too much going on. But I hope you did enjoy it, got to interact with the chat as well. And had a decent stream, with about 50 viewers, which is pretty good considering how quiet things are. So there you go. Australia having the coldest summer too. Yeah, it is pretty bit crazy. There's massive averages. There's massive differences. But yeah, make sure to join the Discord server. I'm just going to put a link in the chat. We've got 32 likes on stream. Let's push that to 40. Why not? Make sure to join that if you want to join the giveaway and react to the chat message. I'll send a little ping to that. Thank you all for watching. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye, everyone.